Hey guys, welcome to Pest Startup 101, where we talk all things pest control related. In this episode, we're going to talk about, are you an exterminator versus a company owner? Please remember to subscribe now. Let's get on with the show. So in this episode, we're going to talk about three main points. We're going to talk about expenses, your pay rate, what are you paying yourself, and viewing your competition. So also stay tuned until the end, and I will tell you my free way on how we view our competitors' ads, and we get some helpful ideas on where the trends are going. So let's start off with your expenses. So when you become when you're a technician and you're working for someone else, I mean, you think about gas. You think about, sometimes if you're in a small company, your boss will pay you back for gas, so they'll give you a certain gas amount that they add to your check. That's how some smaller companies work out here in the Northeast. And but if you work for a bigger company, then you get a gas card, and you really don't look at the number. So I remember when I worked at Terminex, I had no idea what gas prices were because I kept filling up the tank, and I never really looked at the gas rate. I was just using their card. So there's that. So gas, as far as expenses, you have to consider gas, your time slot. So the customer is occupying a time frame. So when we schedule appointments, some people do it in 4-hour time frames, and then they stick 2-3 stops in that 4 hours, and then some people do 2-hour time frames. So we do 2-hour time frames, and what we like to do is we like to stick it in. So let's say there's 8 to 10 and 10 to 12. So we'll tell one customer 8 to 10. He's going to get there closer to 8. You're going to be the first stop. So please be ready. Depending on how you guys set up the appointment, you can kind of get hints from the customer if they're going to be leaving to work right after you get there, stuff like that. If it's outside treatment, then of course it doesn't really matter depending on the customer. Some customers always want to be there when you're doing the service. And then you have then you get another call. You tell him 8 to 10, but he's going to get there closer to 10 because he's going to be coming from a stop that's like 45 minutes away. So you give them the heads up. You're 8 to 10, but he's going to get there maybe 9:45, 9:30. And then the other person 10. So, you spread it out that way. Okay. So you always have to consider that your time. So you consider the gas, you consider the time slot, and then the next thing as far as expenses you have to consider is your chemical usage. So the way that we calculate our chemical usage, side note, we're going to put out very soon after the website is completely up and you subscribe, you put in your email, people are going to start receiving emails with templates. So you're going to receive our Excel spreadsheet template with the breakdown of the chemical. So let's say you have 1 pint of transport, and then per ounce is this how much it costs, and then this is how much you use at a stop. You can calculate it. So it'll have the calculator function in it, and you just put in, okay, you purchase a pint of transport, you put in the rate that you got it at, then it'll give you the breakdown. Per ounce, this is how much it's costing you. And then you can change it up. So like transport here in New York, or, transport is 1.25 ounces per gallon. So, you have to break it like that. But then you have another liquid, let's say Conquer. It's 1 ounce per gallon for roaches. But if you're doing roaches and ants, but if it's a heavy infestation, then they recommend 2 ounces per gallon. And then you could change it up that way. So you'll be able to have that. Okay, so let's get back to it. So chemical usage. Chemical usage is something you should always calculate or have a ballpark number. So then always know your numbers, but have a ballpark number as to, okay, if I'm doing this house, this is how much it's the average that's going to cost me. Not just to get there, how much am I spending out of chemicals? How much am I using to get that stop done? Now, every house is different, but you will have an average. After you do stops for long enough, I can kind of gauge it just by the neighborhood. I can gauge it by the time of the year. And I know what I'm going to need to use and what I'm going to spend. And eventually you'll get there if you're just starting out. But if you have an Excel spreadsheet, or if you have a notepad maybe on your phone, and you have an Excel spreadsheet on your phone that you create yourself, you'll be way ahead of the game. Now, also, one thing as far as expenses, always plan for a follow-up. So what you can do is you can double up the charge. I mean, not double up the rate, but you can include the follow-up treatment in there. You can include the follow-up treatment in there and then adjust your price that you're quoting them on that, you know? So you're not going to quote them $150 for service, and then a week later they're calling you, hey, we need you to come back. And then you're like, oh, now you're taking a loss because you didn't price them accordingly. So that's something that you have to consider every time. Now, let's go over to your pay rate. So now you're no longer a technician. You're a company owner. You're a one-man show. You have to, even though you're not paying yourself yet, we don't recommend that you pay yourself in the first 3 to 6 months of starting your business. So we're going to put out a free ebook too that's going to go into detail as far as how much you should pay yourself or how you should calculate paying yourself. But in the beginning, we don't recommend that you pay yourself for the first 3 to 6 months. Now, I know that's hard. I mean, you should still cover your expenses, but actually paying yourself so you can go out and buy a car and do this, that's just going to stop your company from growing. That's going to delay you getting your first employee, getting a great accountant, insurance, all that is going to delay that much farther if you start grabbing from the company till from the beginning. Okay, so your pay rate. So when you calculate your expenses, you have to put your expenses, you have to put your pay rate in there. So when you want to calculate how much you're going to charge, so how much do you pay yourself? Give yourself a number. Tell yourself, okay, say this is how much I'm worth. This is how much I need to get paid per hour. And that always have that in your mind and in your expenses. Now, as far as paying yourself, you can gauge it. One thing that you can do is you can go to Indeed, which is the job site where you can look for jobs, and it's like monster.com where you could put your resume up there and you can apply to different positions. You can look up pest control there and you can see what people are paying in your area. You can put your town and you can see the number. Of course, you're going to feel like you deserve to get paid a lot more than all those numbers there. And you're the owner, so it's, added work there. So, come with a positive number, with a good number that makes you feel comfortable, and put that and make sure that that's your number and that you have that. In the future, you'll be able to pay yourself more, and as you get more employees and you get salespeople, or maybe you get better at ads, then more money will be coming in and it'll be a little easier. But always have an expense report. Every month you should have an expense report and know how much you're spending on chemicals, know how much you're taking out of the business to pay bills, and then stuff that you take for yourself. You should always have that accounted for. Especially, it's going to help you with your tax time. Now, the next thing is viewing your competition. So when you're a technician, you're never paying attention to the competition because the sales are brought to you. Your boss is giving you, hey, you have 8 stops today, or you have a route. And they're like, okay, here's your route for the month. You have 200 stops for the month. And then it just pops up on your scanner, or they give you the paperwork, or they email it. I don't know. Different companies do different things. So what I'm trying to say is you don't think about how to get these customers. How much did it cost to get these customers? If you're doing Facebook ads, Instagram ads, there's a number that you have to calculate when you do this. So you're spending maybe $100 a day on ads, and you don't get a customer for 3 days. And then on the 4th day, you get 2 customers, and then it just bounces up and down. You have to have when you're an owner, you're going to have to know your numbers as far as your marketing budget. You're going to have a marketing budget. Even if it's not, let's say it's not ads and you're just hitting the streets to make sales, you still have to spend money on gas to make sales, to hit the streets. You still have to get flyers made. If you're not doing flyers, you're giving business cards. We also recommend you get referral cards, where you have a special business card size, not special, but a business card size, and it says, hey, refer your friend, and you get $25 off your net service. And you give them a few cards, and then they give it to to their friends, and then the friends call you, and then they give it in. That's another little way to get ahead of that. And also, Another good way to find out your competition's rates, never click on their ads, okay? Never click on their ads. You're costing them money. And then if they do the same thing to you, it just turns into a huge cycle of competing companies just clicking on each other's ads, just wasting their ad dollars. There are really small companies that are really trying really hard. This happened to us multiple times. It still happens sometimes today, where we would get a call from a lady at 8 in the morning and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I clicked on your ad, but I meant to call this company." And then 3 hours later, it's the same lady pretending to be calling another company. So they'll say, I'm trying to call Terminix. I'm sorry, I called you by accident. The ad sent me to you." And then 3 hours later, I was trying to call Orkin. But it's the same lady. You can hear the voice and you say, "Oh, you're the same person I called." Okay, so you know that they're just clicking on your ads to run up the money so then you can be done for the day. Because my manager told me when I was at Terminix, the advertising budget for Terminix was $10,000 a month, and they were raising it to I believe it was $3,500 a week. So that was many, many years ago. So I don't know what it is now. It might have quadrupled by now. But yes, that was in our county, our district. It was $10,000 a month on advertising. That was for local advertising. That didn't include TV ads and all of that stuff. So you have to consider when you're spending $100 a day and then you have two people clicking on your ads, depending if you put limits on the click rate, one click could cost you $4 or $5, maybe more, 10. If they're calling you from a call link, then Google or Facebook will charge you more, and you can get charged $15 for that call. And then after 3-4 calls, you don't get any sales. 2 of them were scams, and there you go. You lost your ad budget for your day, and it doesn't stop showing. So then there's that. Okay, so don't ever click on other companies' ads. At the end of this, I'm going to show you the way that we look. I'm going to tell you the way that we look at ads from competing companies without charging, and it's great weight because you're not messing with their ads, and you get to see where the ads are going depending on the season. Or the bigger companies, they change their ads, and then you start noticing the smaller companies do the same. The companies that are paying attention do the same. So you should always have an ad strategy. So even if you don't have advertising strategy is on the ground and on the web. So you should always have a strategy. So let's say when we first started, what we did was we bought a map. It was $25 back then, big paper map, put it on the wall, put thumbtacks on it, and then you mark where you are, and then you break everything down by sections. So you can tell yourself, hey, I can only dedicate a couple hours to advertising, 3 days a week because I have stops, If you're lucky and you started out with like 20, 30 customers in the beginning and maybe more, and you had stops already, then you can only dedicate a certain amount of time because you still have to calculate going to getting office work done, going to the warehouse to get chemicals unless you're getting them shipped to you. And when you're first starting out, I don't know if you want to get it shipped to you unless it's free shipping. And then there's other miscellaneous things that you might have to do. You might have to go to Home Depot, pick up some stuff, or your hardware stores. But when you break down your advertising, like when you're on foot or when you're going to park somewhere and walk and flyer the area and go up and talk to businesses, you have to calculate, hey, an hour I'm going to be able to do maybe 5. You'll figure it out as you do it. You can test it out and see how long it took you. You can time it. But give yourself a time frame, a time window. So then this is what's going to cost me. I'm going to need 5,000 postcards, and it's going to, after 3 weeks, I'm done with 5,000 postcards, and then you're going to need it again. So you have to have an ad budget for that, to calculate that. Try to calculate everything. If you don't calculate everything, then at the end of the month, you're going to say, wow, I made 10 grand, but I don't know where the money went. And when you're working that way, you're working backwards, because by the time you figure it out, 6 months has gone by. You made $60,000, you spent it all, and you're just getting by. You're not growing, okay? But when you have an expenses, when you set goals, then you have something to reach for. It keeps you focused, and you'll keep working a little bit harder every day because you want to get that customer, because this week I have to have an additional 5 customers on my route. And then I'll be able to get my employee and I'll be able to relax. Okay, that's what everyone tells themselves. So Okay, so before I give you the bonus on how to check out your competition's rates, I'm going to ask you guys to please go to our Instagram, Pest Startup 101, follow, and you can go to our Facebook and like, and our website will be up and running very soon. If you're watching this or listening to this a few months from its release date, then the website should be up and running. And on the website, you can put in your email address, and you'll get the free download. Every week, every 2 weeks, we're going to try to email people free downloads of Excel spreadsheets that they could use, checklists that they should have for their cars, how, maintaining their cars, not as far as, gas and all, maintaining like a checklist of what you should have in your car. So do you have pens? Do you have paper? Do you have your chemical? Then you break down the chemicals. Do you have the chemical? Do you have a spare uniform in the car? Some people carry spare uniforms in the car, spare shirts to change, because you might do a huge job and then you have to do an inspection in the following service, and you don't want to go looking a mess. That hurts. Some people love it. They say, "Hey, my exterminator, he's a little messy. At the end of the day, that means that he really works. That means that he really gets under the bed and checks, that he crawls in and checks all of this." And then some other people are like, "Hey, no, he's looking a mess. I don't even want him in my house." They'll talk to you outside and they won't invite you in. You talk for 10 minutes, they let you go, and that's because they don't want you in there. You're so dirty, and you don't even notice it till you drive away, and then you're like, "Oh crap, I didn't get the sale because I couldn't even get into so many paperwork." Maybe you can make the sale outside, but yeah, it hurts a little bit sometimes. Okay, so please just go to the website. It's peststartup101.com. Peststartup101.com. Just put in your email, completely free. You're going to get free. We're not going to blast you with emails every day. We're going to send you an email of upcoming maybe events that we'll have, some live streams and upcoming episodes, and then we'll put in some free checklists in there to help you guys out. Now, for the how do we look up our competition's ads? First way, it's kind of the hit or miss. You go to their Instagram, Facebook, just search them, search Terminex, scroll through their page, see what they're posting, and then in between those posts, you start seeing some ads. Some of those posts are used in the ads, but the wording under is not exactly the same as the ads. So some Facebook posts will say a general statement, where then in the ad it'll show that same image, and it'll have the image, it'll have the ad words in it, which has key phrases. And you have to learn about key phrases. That's going to help you a lot when it comes to creating ads, because then you'll stand out more depending on the key phrase, and depending on the words, it's easier for people to search it, and then your ad will pop up more. So Facebook, Instagram, best way to check. Now, another way, you go to google.com, search Facebook Ads Library. Once that pops up, you click on the Facebook Ads Library from Google with the Google search. Then when you get there, you click on all ads from the drop-down menu. Click on the drop-down menu in the middle to the right side. It's like in the middle of the screen on the right side, and it says ad type. You click on that, all ads, and then in the search box, you type in pest control. If you want to see all pest control companies' ads, so to show you small and large companies, but then that gets a little tricky, because then it'll give you ads from all 50 states, some from worldwide. So the way you can filter that is, if you know your competition, then you just type in their name. Another way is you can go to your competition's Facebook page. You go to the left, you scroll down, and there's a transparency page. That transparency page shows you all the ads that they're running at the moment. So if they're not running any ads, that's going to be blank. If they're running ads, it'll show you what's running at the moment. So the good thing about Facebook Ads Library is, instead of going to their Facebook page, is that if their ads stop running, it will still be in the Facebook Ads Library, and it'll just say not running on it. And then if it is running, it'll be in the top right of the ad. It'll be active. And then some ads, you can click on them, and if you're lucky, you can see their ad budget. It'll say their budget on there. It wouldn't say the exact number, but it'll say the range. So that helps, because knowing how much to spend